Welcome to the Foolery Show, your dose of positivity for those dreary Monday morning blues, where we take topics and try to make them sound positive. Today's topic is world history. First up, an asteroid hit the Earth during the Cretaceous period, approximately 66 million years ago, wiping out about 75% of Earth's animals, including the dinosaurs. I think that mass extinctions events are always terrible. I mean, a lot of innocent animals, I guess innocent more or less, quote unquote, animals were just killed for no particular reason other than being the universal's grand plan. But this is actually a great thing for humanity. The dinosaurs were massive and dominated the whole world. Humans simply would not exist, realistically would not exist if they were still around. A lot of those Earth's animals that died out were actually the primary controllers of those environments. One could speculate, and one might say the whole reason that the human race exists is because of this, right? Because of the decline of the reptiles and the surge of the primates. And so, the world changes. There's different changing events. This is one of the greatest things that could possibly happen to the human race. Being allowed to exist without large-scale predators already existing and crushing everything around you. All right, next up, the sacking of Baghdad in 1258 by the Mongols marked a major loss of written material for the human civilization when they destroyed the House of Wisdom, which was the largest repository of books in the whole world at the time. And this is one of those unfortunate events of human history where, a lot of knowledge was lost that could never truly be recovered. But the reality is the future is fluid. Nothing is so ingrained that needs to be recovered. Otherwise, we're all lost, right? For example, we have fossil fuels. We're burning gas, burning oil, burning whale oil. These are all new inventions, new different technologies that are all learned. It's not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing if they were lost. Sure, maybe some foundational principles like algebra or calculus, losing those is just a horrible thing and just sets us back. But this seems like a bad thing because books are a repository of knowledge. But just because you lost previous knowledge does not necessarily mean that it was a bad thing. It may have been a good thing, right? For example, if maybe that there was old technologies for lights, and maybe we would have never developed electricity or had anything evolve with that if we weren't pushed and that wasn't burned down. So this could totally be a great thing, pushing humanity forward and not holding on to the things of the past in order to improve ourselves. Reaching back a little further, the Aztecs used to perform ritual human sacrifice in which the priest would cut open the victim's torso and offer their still beating hearts to the gods. They believed that this would feed the gods and ensure the continued existence of the world. Now this is really some good culture, some old-time fun culture back in the day. And this does not help. I assure you this is not a fun time, I would assume at least, for the victim. And so this is the whole discussion of, where does belief come into this? Where does belief come in from the world? Why do things work the way it is? We understand that the world is circular, it revolves around the sun and is part of the solar system. But why? Why is it like this? And to someone of a previous, prior early born civilization, how could this even exist? This seems ridiculous. So perhaps a less ridiculous story is, we have to keep offering them human hearts in order to keep going. And this, clearly a lie, but a belief system ensured the continuity of human civilization. And while graphic, kind of introduced this whole theory that you had to give something to get something. And maybe this was one of the pivotal things that allowed the Aztecs to last as long as they did, which benefited humanity greatly, or their relative civilization greatly. Next up, King Tut, most widely known as Egypt's boy pharaoh, had numerous health problems when he was alive, most likely due to inbreeding, which was actually pretty common in the Egyptian royal family. Genetic tests using DNA from his mummified bones found that King Tut's probable father married his sister. Now, this is kind of a weird taboo issue. One of the biggest issues with marrying a sibling or having kids with a sibling is, genetic, effects or genetic issues, because a lot of those recessive alleles mix with other recessive alleles and you get just messed up diseases. Not always, but more than likely. And so, what's the issue? But why would people do this, right? Knowing this is a well-known thing, is why incest is taboo or outlawed, right? So why would they do this thing? I think this is because power, the nature of the Egypt was, pharaohs. It's about the blood. The only reason that they were granted power was because it's in their blood. And so in order to keep it within the family, quote unquote, the power within the family, they basically had to do incest, right? There was no other way to do it. You couldn't, have kids with a slave and everyone else was a slave compared to you. So while this is pretty messed up from a genetic thing and not so great for King Tut, probably a great thing for the ruling dynasty and the stability of Egypt, right? Because if you can marry anyone or have anything else, right, people can play with your feelings or, try to integrate with the family. But seeing as you can only marry someone within the family, well, then you really have no problems. There's no need to go for outside sources. Everything is quite literally inside the house. And here we go. The eruption of Mount Vesuvius in AD 79 destroyed the Roman city Pompeii, as well as several other settlements. It actually buried Pompeii so quickly in volcanic ash that it is a well-preserved snapshot of life in a Roman city. More than 1,000 people are thought to have died in the eruption, although the exact total is unknown. So being killed in a volcanic eruption cannot be nice, cannot be great, and is pretty horrifying to think about because, technically at any time it can just pop up. However, maybe a good thing about this is seeing the city in its stance. So many people are fascinated about what previous civilizations are. And maybe everyone has kind of a romanticism that maybe things were better, maybe things were worse, maybe things were different, maybe it never happened at all. And I think that while it's horrible that these people die, I think a really great thing is that you can see people living as they were. For, as someone that's been to Pompeii, it was amazing to see that, despite it being thousands of years in the past, we're not that different. We like the same things. We are into the same things. We didn't have the same technology, but we're the same. And it kind of creates a good bonding moment that, the times may have changed, but we as a people, as humanity, have not. It's kind of a bonding thing, bringing us from the past, the present, and the future. Getting into darker topics, the Black Death was a bubonic plague pandemic occurring in Afro-Eurasia from 1346 to 1353. It is the most fatal pandemic recorded in human history, causing the death of 75 to 200 million people in Eurasia and North Africa. So this is a talk about pandemics and the severity of what a pandemic is, and maybe somewhat relating to today's times. I think that it's horrifying that so many people died from a preventable disease. But I think that with a lot of things, no one knows the true value or the true meaning or the severity of something, right? Like a disease may seem dangerous nowadays only because this many people died. If this many people didn't die in the past, then we wouldn't care about it. Then it wouldn't be a big deal. We wouldn't take so much to ask people to take showers, wash their hands, use hand sanitizer, right? It wouldn't be a thing. This huge pandemic it happened because people didn't care about that. That wasn't an issue that they even considered. And most people were incredibly ignorant of germs being real at all. And this was a pivotal point in human history where it was, if you didn't believe in it, then you just died from it. And people paid the ultimate price. And while it was a horrifying thing directly, I think it was a great thing for human history as a whole. But more importantly, and more specifically, it was a great thing for the improvement of medicine as a real practice. without this many people dying and some people surviving from some medical practices, we would not have medicine as an established, it could be believed that we would not have medicine as an established practice today. And I think that's a very important thing to note for human history. But just like that, that's the end of our show. And remember that there is almost always a positive perspective in life. Any comments, questions, or suggestions for the next show, please send an email to thefooleryclub@gmail.com.